Let's see his tech. Let's see his tech video here. Somebody's got. I mean, I totally understand what he's doing here.
Stop it.
Yeah, true.
Get some help.
Even Dreamcore's saying Factualized bad.
Welcome to another video. We've finally made it to launch week, and we're just 4 days away. In this one, I wanted to do a bit of discussion on the Witch Ascendancy, the Bloodmage, and the Blood Magic Keystone. Let's first take a look at the Bloodmage. So, we know 4 of the Bloodmage's Ascendancy notables listed here. The Sanguimancy notable must be taken by all Blood Mages. It's the first node, and you must path through here to get to any of the other nodes. Now, I know that some people weren't too happy about the idea of a compulsory notable on an Ascendancy. Personally, I am a fan of this.
It's fine.
I wouldn't like it if every Ascendancy had it, but the idea of a few Ascendancies having to take a notable which completely defines the class is quite a novel concept.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a ton of sense on this Ascendancy in particular, considering what the node does.
It's the theme, bro.
Sanguimancy makes skills gain a base life cost equal to mana cost, and in exchange, a passive ability called Life Remnants is gained. Life Remnants causes monsters to drop red orbs on death, which can be picked up to gain life. Now, one of the most important parts of this skill was actually missed out of the official livestream reveal by accident. And that's that the life gained from picking up the Life Remnants can overflow maximum life, up to twice your normal maximum.
Yep, double.
I'll go into the Bloodmage one at least. So one thing I should mention about that is that it does allow you to overcap your life by double, which is something that I didn't mention in the video, but it's kind of important, right? So effectively, if you're picking up those orbs, then you can get to double the amount of life that you normally have. So yeah.
I'll link the timestamp.
Yo, spoiler alert though, bro. Overflow is going to be like a gimmicky mechanic unless you can constantly overcap, like turbo consistent. I think it's going to be I just have a feeling that it's going to be an inconsistent mechanic to rely upon.
From the Darth microtransactions and the Ghazi
probably
interview
really potent
with Jonathan,
in mapping,
where he goes over that mechanic in the description below if you're interested.
That shit versus
so,
bosses.
Overflow is a new mechanic in PoE 2, and we don't really know too much about it. What we do know is that Overflow doesn't count as a maximum resource for the purpose of scaling. You can see that in this footage here with the Invoker Monk Ascendancy using the Meditate skill, which overflows maximum energy shield. Current energy shield is doubled, but maximum energy shield remains the same. However, we're lacking some of the really important information about overflowed resources, such as how long does overflow last by default?
It was permanent.
Will your recovery apply to overflowed resources? And will you be able to spend overflowed resources for skill costs?
I'm calling it now. It's going to decay. I'm going to say it's going to last for 4 seconds. As long as you've gained it recently, but then after you've not gained an overflow recently, it's going to start decaying really fast. I'm calling now. There it is.
These things are important to see just how useful this mechanic will be. Now, as far as Sanguimancy and the Life Remnants ability goes, the importance of overflow not counting towards maximum life is realised on another Ascendancy notable, Gore Spike, which makes you have 1% increased critical damage bonus per 20 life.
Bro, this right here, bro, this is the reason why I'm thinking about going the Melee Witch. That right there. This plus, there's multiple abilities we've seen that have effectively guaranteed crit, where you don't invest into crit at all. You go full health scaling, full strength, right? Full health scaling, full strength, and you just use an ability that has a guaranteed crit, and just basically turn your person into like a one-shotting character that just does a single guaranteed crit. Like for example, Sunder, we've seen Sunder. You got guaranteed crit from Sunder. We've also seen guaranteed crit coming from a support gem. There's multiple ways of getting guaranteed crit.
The wording on this notable implies that the bonus is scaled based on your current life, which will of course include any overflowed life that you have from Life Remnants, but perhaps more importantly than that, this means that when you take a lot of damage and your life is not full, your bonus will drop off. And it also means that the node has an anti-synergy with a low life concept that's trying to make use of Pain Attunement.
Yeah.
Because your current life will always be significantly lower, diminishing the critical damage bonus gained from Gore Spike.
Bone Shadow Witch, bro, log in. Bone Shadow Witch, yeah.
Now, the usefulness of Life Remnants is unquestionable in a mapping environment where you're killing monsters often enough to benefit from the recovery and the overflowed life that the orbs provide. But the big question for me is how useful this skill will be for bossing. How many bosses will have adds, and how often are those adds encountered?
I think you'll be able to ramp it up somehow. I think one of these other Ascendancy nodes will allow you to ramp it. But it's going to be, it will require uptime. My prediction is you'll have ways of maintaining it in single target, but it'll take a while to ramp. and then whenever this basically phases with this downtime, it's going to drop. Dude, I'm basically in the game designers' heads. I can predict these things before they happen every single time. People say I'm like, whatever, I pre-watched, or they say like I have inside info. No, I just basically am a game designer at GGG at this point.
If there's no ads, is there a way that we can sacrifice our own minions to spawn life remnants? The answers to these questions will be vital to see how good the Bloodmage ends up performing. Alright, one of the other things I wanted to discuss in this video is the Blood Magic Keystone, in relation to the Bloodmage. Sanguimancy will make every skill that costs mana also costs life as well, and from everything that we've seen so far about the Bloodmage, it looks like you're going to want to be fully focused on scaling life and life recovery.
Yeah.
And that's where Blood Magic comes in. This keystone has conveniently moved up on the tree from PoE 1, now finding itself in the middle between the strength and strength intelligence starting areas, so it's much closer to the witch. Blood Magic removes all of your mana and makes skills cost life instead of mana. This keystone is really interesting because one of the massive opportunity costs of losing your mana pool that existed in PoE 1, which is reserving all of it against powerful auras, is gone in PoE 2 because of the introduction of Spirit. But how does the Sanguimancy skill cost modify?
I feel like Blood Magic's going to be like one of these things that likely, unless they have some other purpose for mana, or there's some like abusive, overpowered support gem that interacts with mana, which I've looked at the support gems. There is none that we currently are aware of, but there's a bunch that say coming soon, so who knows. But it's going to be pretty heavily meta. And unless you can just solve mana, but with like a single node elsewhere with even less investment, and then still use mana, like maybe mana is trivial to solve. But if it's not trivial to solve and mana requires a decent investment, then Blood Magic, if you're pathing in that direction, it seems like a pretty no-brainer. Presuming you're not going mom or anything, right?
Interacts with Blood Magic.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually an item in PoE 1 that does exactly the same thing. The unique body armor, the Covenant. This item makes skills gain a base life cost equal to 100% of base mana cost. For example, if a skill has a cost of 19 mana, when you equip this item, it will now cost 19 mana and 19 life. But when you allocate Blood Magic, that same...
I know this shit all too well, because obviously trying to force Wild Strike of the Extremes into like 15 different builds, and just losing my mind doing so.
Skill now has a cost of only 19 life, not 38 life as you may expect. And that's because the base cost of the skill is now 19 life due to Blood Magic, and therefore, since it no longer has a base mana cost, the modifier on the Covenant no longer has any effect. If this mechanic also translates over to the use of Blood Magic in combination with the Blood...
So skills cost life instead of mana. Blood Magic. Skills get a base life cost equal to mana cost. Yeah, that's a 50-50 depending on how they code it. I don't think you can guaranteed say one way or the other. I don't think it's a big deal, though. I think it's a... Even the thing is, I don't think it's a big deal. Even if you double the cost of life, who cares? You're investing in full life anyway, and it's a flat amount that you're spending, combined with the fact you're going to be stacking recovery. I don't think it's a huge deal.
Major Ascendancy in PoE 2, as I expect it will do, then this will be quite a beneficial combo.
It'll be synergetic for sure, though.
Because the use of Blood Magic on this Ascendancy not only allows you to fully focus on life scaling, but it also essentially halves the base resource cost of your skills.
Yes, so you can link any of the Ascendancy skills. I don't know what you'd link to this, though. Maybe life remnants have duration tag, or maybe they've got like, maybe there's some sort of cooldown, maybe the cost reduction would work on it somehow. I'm not sure. You could link it to stuff.
You're already forced to spend life with your skills due to the fact that you have to take Sanguimancy, and so clicking on Blood Magic just removes the mana cost without increasing the life cost. If you had no other planned use for your mana pool, then removing it will simply make your life easier. No pun intended. Now, one last thing that I'll mention in this video, which is related to Blood Magic, is a conversation that I had with Octavian while I was at the PoE 2 event in...
Oh shit, he's getting Octavian back seats, bro. Octavian back seat, dude. What has GGG been doing to Octavian, bro? God damn.
With just one life flask and one mana flask. And I asked him if the Blood Magic Keystone should replace your mana flask with another life flask slot, as currently it just removes your mana, so your mana flask slot essentially becomes useless. He said that he didn't think it should because the keystone is already solving your skill costs, and that's the trade-off you're making. Before I asked that question, I thought that it probably should swap your mana flask slot out for another life flask. But after hearing his response and thinking about it a little bit, I think he's right. Because with the change to mana no longer being the default resource for reservations, Blood Magic has become a much better option as a method to solve skill costs for builds with good life recovery, as they no longer have to deal with the massive opportunity cost of losing their mana that they had in Peri 1.
Yep.
I thought that would be a nice tidbit to mention here for those wondering about the mana flask.
I feel like they should let us invest, though. There should be a part in the tree or some shit. Like, I think somewhere in the middle, which is accessible by many, which allows you to change the configuration of your flask setup. I don't like the idea of it being locked behind an item, because it's like, because you're just never going to use that unique, right? Why would you ever use... Because obviously they've got a unique that allows you to have 2 life flasks, but then it wastes a slot, and it's like, you're never going to use that. Like, it's ever going to... Well, I mean, I predict that you'll never use that. So, which is why it'd be cool if you could invest other ways, you know, so a more accessible node on the tree which lets you configure, or maybe you go to a crafter and, you know, you give them resources or something, you should modify this, which slots work how. Just, I don't know.
Anyway, I just wanted to make this video about the Bloodmage and...
Well, do you know what'd be cooler, actually? If you could reforge your mana flask slot to a charm slot, bro. That'd be cool.
Magic, as it's currently one of my top considerations to play for Peri 2's launch, alongside the Titan. I'm just not sure what to play.
Reforge, I'm saying, like, they could have, like, a vendor or a fucking quest, or, like, a price that you pay, or there could be a node on the tree, or there could be a I'm just saying, that'd be cool if you could do that.
Yet. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay tuned, and stay safe.
Cool video, true. Very cool, yeah. I've already got that, I believe. Yeah, I've already got this. Yeah, life-stacking melee Blood Witch. It's one of those things where we need to determine if there's other uses for mana. There may be other uses for mana that make a lot of sense. That, you know, maybe like recovery's really hard to come by in PoE2. Maybe the life cost is actually significant. There's a big trade-off, and actually mana's easy as fuck to solve. There's many things where it's like, well, I mean, I've already got Blood Magic nodes in here, bro. Blood Magic pseudo buff because Spirit instead of mana res, right? This is like the, you know, the revelation we had, which is very important to note. But I'm guessing because Blood Magic got giga buffed, because Spirit got implemented, it's going to be like super OP. So then there's going to be reasons why it's not super OP, because the devs would have thought of this. Otherwise, there'll be tons of builds that would just do that. Saying that, maybe the way they were going to compete with Blood Magic was to create a thing called Mind Over Matter, and then you know, have that at 100%. Maybe that's their answer to saying, you know, maybe that's their answer to Blood Magic being OP, is they just make a mana thing that's just as OP. So then you've got like a, you know, you get an option.